Hey friends, it's me, Jennifer Jayde. I'm super excited to come in here and connect with you tonight. It wasn't really planned, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. If you're watching the replay, thank you for being here. I know most people watch replays, so welcome. Let me know in the comments if you're here, where you're watching from. It always helps me keep that momentum to know that what I'm sharing is landing with you, is being heard, is serving you. So do let me know in the comments if you're here, if you're watching live, if you're watching the replay. Please say hi, let me know where you're watching from. I'm going to do a quick, I'm going to share this. I don't do a lot of lives on my personal page like this, but something tonight told me to make this public, the message that's coming through to share tonight. So I am. Okay, so let me just see, can you guys comment, am I showing up sideways for you? Can you guys let me know, am I showing up sideways? Dang! Ludi, what is going on? Why is this showing up sideways? Okay, well, let's get this sorted out. Okay. Bear with me while I troubleshoot live. How can I prop this? Okay, let's bring it. Oop. Okay, what I might have to do is just hold it. Okay, let's do this. We'll make it nice and sweet. And what I'm gonna do is, oh, hi Ludi, hi Sarah. Thank you for saying hi. I'm just gonna quickly share this in my, let's turn down this light a little bit. There we go. I'm gonna share this in my group, so just bear with me for about 2 seconds. Because I wanna make sure my girls, my Savvy Soul Sisters get to see this too. If you're not in my Savvy Soul Sister Facebook group, you're more than welcome to join us there. Because that's where I actually do the most of my lives. So if you find anything that I share with you tonight or that I've shared with you in the past useful, you're welcome to join the Savvy Soul Sisters group. And you can see these lives more often. I love to give away, content, whatever message is coming through for me to share that I feel will serve you and uplift you and empower you to really step into the truth of who you are and what you're meant to be doing in the world and level up into the person you feel called to become and move through any of the gunk, the junk, the garbage, the lies, the fear that is preventing you from stepping into that version of you and doing the things you really want to be doing. I love to share messages around that. Okay. Okay. I'm getting an arm workout tonight. Okay, so here's what I really wanted to share with you tonight. I've had the blessing, the opportunity to work with a lot of women now in one-on-one settings, in group programs, on retreats, and even just throughout my life and through my own personal experience. And I've observed some commonalities, some similarities in the journey to expanding from who you are to who you desire to become, from moving from a place, a job, a business that is not lighting you up to stepping into one that is, to feeling lost along the way, to feeling like maybe you're not cut out for this, maybe you can't do this, maybe this isn't for you. And I really, if you resonate with that at all, If you are in a place right now, or have ever been, of doubting what's possible for you, doubting that you can make any changes in your life, feeling lost, feeling like everyone else is running right by you and you're staying stuck, and wondering, why aren't you progressing? Why aren't you moving forward? Why aren't you gaining the clarity? Why isn't anything changing for you? Then this message is for you. So, the first thing that I want to share is this misconception that there's this big, grand purpose for your life, and that you better hurry the hell up to figure out what that is. And if you don't figure out what that is, then you have failed. You have failed at life. You're gonna die miserable. This whole thing will have been a waste. And I meet a lot of people who are feeling like they're failing at finding what that is for them. They can't find this big purpose. It keeps eluding them. They're searching for the answers. They're feeling lost. They're feeling like they're off path. They're feeling confused. They're feeling like losers, feeling depressed. And the only reason I know that is, well, because of the work that I've done with my clients, but because I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to, be in a 9-to-5 and wonder, is this really it? Is this as good as it gets? And be terrified of that thought. I also know what it's like to move on from that and to create a business that absolutely lights me up, like pinch me kind of exhilaration. I know what that's like. That's how I felt when I transitioned from my 9-to-5 in finance to becoming a destination wedding photographer. That was amazing. But I also know what it's like when you did enjoy your life, or you did create the thing that you thought you wanted to create, or you did create the career you thought you wanted to have, or the business you thought you wanted to have, the life you thought you wanted to have. And not too long afterwards, you're like, shit, this isn't doing it anymore. This isn't exciting me. Something doesn't feel so good. Oh, Giselle's here. Yay. And then here's where I think some people get stuck. You think, okay, well, if this isn't exciting me anymore, there's some people think, okay, well, then I've got to settle and I've just got to be more grateful and, grin and bear it type of a thing. I thought I was a very ungrateful person because when I was falling out of love with the business of photography, my life was great. Like, it was the life I'd always dreamed of. I was getting paid to travel to Hawaii, to Australia, to the Caribbean, and take photos for a living. That was my job. That was my life. How could I not be totally head over heels in love with that? What's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. I'm ungrateful. I'm not practicing enough gratitude. I need to appreciate things more. I'm a terrible person. These are the thoughts that went through my head. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with who I will always refer to as my fairy godmother. And she just came into my life out of nowhere. She spoke these words to me, and honestly, I haven't really seen her too much since. And I made this random post on Facebook one day, and I said, you know what? I have a cherry tree in the backyard. It is bursting with cherries. Whoever wants to come over with a bucket, come grab some cherries. And so this woman, she came over, and we weren't that close. We kind of knew of each other. We were acquaintances, and we were picking cherries, and we just got to talking. She was one of those people that you just are comfortable spilling your guts to, and then afterwards you're like, oh, was that too much information? But I told her, I said, I once really loved photography. It once really lit me up, and I'm feeling like a terrible person that it's not anymore. And I don't know what's wrong with me. Also, I had these dreams that I wanted to live in San Diego. I wanted to be there. There was something about it that was calling my soul. It was like a magnet just pulling me. And I felt bad about that because what kind of a good person, these are the thoughts that were the mind weeds in my head at the time, what kind of a good person wants to leave their family behind? and this is not judging anyone else who's moved away from their family. This was me reflecting about myself. We're our own worst critic. I wasn't criticizing I was envious of other people who had moved away and were great with that and were okay with that. I felt extreme guilt, and I didn't know how I could move away and not bring that extreme guilt with me. So I said to her, what's wrong with me? I said, I have a house. I have this amazing husband, my family, both my parents are here. My parents aren't going to be around forever. My siblings are here. They're young. They're much younger than me. I want to be around for them. I want to be a role model for them. What kind of a selfish bitch just wants to up and leave her family? What's wrong with me? Why do I want to leave my business behind? Am I going crazy? These are the things that I was spilling out to her. And she said to me, oh my gosh, Jen, you are not a bad person. She said, I moved away from my family. I'm from Eastern Canada, and I came for a visit to Vancouver Island. I fell in love with it here. I knew this was my home, and I left. And she said to me that the bond with her and her family was stronger than location. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so true. That is so true. The bond between her and her family transcends location. And I thought, oh my gosh, yes. And she said, you're not a bad person. There's a reason why you're desiring this. You're being called to move forward. You're being called to transcend. You're being called to explore. There's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that's wrong is that you are resisting what you're feeling called to do. And honestly, I think it was within 6 weeks, I was gone. I was in San Diego. I was feeling that pinch me feeling again that I had lost. And I was starting a new business. I was starting the business that I have now, which is coaching and online programs and events and things to help other people step into a life that really lights them up. And in that time where I was really second guessing myself, even before that, I spent probably 18 months feeling physically exhausted. And I honestly, this might sound silly, I didn't realize that you could physically exhaust your body with your mental thoughts. I was carrying such a heaviness on my heart for not being in love with my photography business anymore, not wanting to live in the same city as my family anymore. I felt guilt. I felt depleted. I felt stagnant. I felt lost. I felt like I was a terrible person. And I didn't tell anyone. And this is what I want to talk to you about tonight. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't. I maybe confided in my best friend, and I said to her, I just don't know about this photography thing anymore. And I always said to myself, unless I'm totally in love with what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it, because it's not fair to me and it's not fair to the client. I don't want to just show up for a paycheck ever for anybody. I want to show up because I want to serve, and I'm there authentically and aligned and to be of my best self and service to other people, not just because I need the money or I want the paycheck. And I was starting to feel that way a little bit with photography, and I did not want to ever take someone's money if I wasn't fully there to serve. So 18 months, I didn't really tell anyone. I don't know that I really told my husband even, maybe I mentioned it here and there, but I really downplayed it. I really didn't want to be a burden to anyone else. And that's why I titled this video, Confessions of a Recovering Independent Woman. And I don't mean that it's bad to be an independent woman, but there's extremes, and there can be too much of a good thing, right? So cherries are good for you. You can eat too many cherries and suddenly they're not good for you. There's things that in small doses or in balance are good for you, but when you go to an extreme, they're not good for you. And I was independent to an extreme where I wouldn't ask for help, to an extreme that I wouldn't reach out and receive the support that I needed. I wouldn't receive the guidance that I needed. I wouldn't receive the clarity that I needed. I wasn't open to it because I'm an independent woman, God damn it, and I can do this myself, and I can figure this out by myself, and I'll get there, and I just need to wait a little bit longer. I just need to practice a little bit more patience. I don't want to be a burden on anyone else. I don't want to bring anyone else down with my problems, and woe is me, and I'm a whiner. I need to focus on the positive and put a smile on my face and all of those things, right? And I speak to women specifically with this because there's a lot of praise around being an independent woman, right? There's Beyonce sings about it, and I am an independent woman, but now a stronger independent woman. And here's what I mean by that. It takes strength to be able to reach out for help. It takes a strong woman to allow herself to receive the support that she needs. It takes a strong woman to be vulnerable. And I had the misconception that a strong woman is so independent that she never needs the support of anyone else. And that really was to my own detriment. That really caused me to feel alienated. It caused me to feel like I could never be my true self, like I could never express my true self. I felt alone. I felt like no one could help me because I wouldn't tell anyone that I needed help. And I felt like I was in this rut, in this fog by myself, and that I was going to have to somehow dig my way out. And this got so not only emotionally and spiritually draining, but physically exhausting. Physically, I could not sleep enough hours in the night. And I was self-employed at this point as a photographer, so I didn't have to get up to go to a 9 to 5. So I was sleeping in till all hours of the morning, not knowing why. I would usually wake up around 8:30. Now I was sleeping until 9:30, 10, 10:30. I thought, what's going on? So I thought I need to go to bed earlier. So I would go to bed earlier and I would still sleep in. I was starting to sleep 9, 10, 11, 12 hours sometimes. And I remember my wake up call being when I had slept like over 11 hours one night. And this is when I was in that space of out of love with photography, wanting to move to San Diego, being so independent that I will not tell anyone that I'm struggling. I need to figure this out by myself. And this one night I slept for like 10, 11, almost 12 hours. I don't know how, long time. I woke up, I journaled, maybe I had a shake or something for breakfast. And then I fell asleep on the couch for another 2 to 3 hours. And at like mid-morning, I fell back asleep for another solid 2 hours or more. And I woke up and I thought, holy cow, something is wrong. Like something is seriously wrong. I have a couple women in my family that, they take medication to help balance their thyroid. And I thought, holy cow, like I'm having some thyroid issues. Or worse, I need to get to a doctor, I need blood work, like this, I am spiraling here. And it was around this time when I was starting to open up to even my own self and thinking I need to get some help. I was thinking it was in the form of a doctor. But I said like, I need to get some help. I was just kind of thinking this in my mind, like something is wrong, I need help. And honestly, within 48 hours, I had this random conversation with a previous wedding client of mine and found myself spilling my beans to her, like just saying, like I love photography and I love my clients, but I think that, I don't know what it is, but I think I might be moving on to something else. I wish I knew what it was, but I don't. And I'm feeling a little lost at the moment, but I'll figure it out type of a thing. And she said, oh my gosh, Jen, I have this urge to tell you about this coach that my husband's been working with. And she's like, he is a different man ever since he started working with this coach. And she's like, have you ever heard of him? Have you ever met him? And I said, no, like, I don't know who this person is. And she said, oh my gosh, Jen, you need to meet this person. And she connected us. He and I had a email conversation and then a phone conversation, and he was a life coach, and I started working with him. I had one conversation with him. I was like, yeah, this is what I need. And within a week, my energy started increasing. And I said to him, I thought, what is going on? Like, how am I not so exhausted anymore? I haven't changed anything. I haven't done anything different. And it's because we were leaving the mental stress, the burden, the worry, the tapes I was playing that I'm a terrible person and I'm ungrateful, and like it felt like I had lifted this 1,000-pound weight off my chest. And from there, just to kind of wrap things up with that story, make a long story shorter, working with that coach, working with someone outside of myself, being vulnerable enough to reach out for support, being accepting of a new teacher into my life, of someone who could support me, being open to receiving that, getting over my fears. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to afford him every month. It was quite expensive. I didn't know how I was going to make that income because I wasn't super enthused about growing my photography business anymore, so there wasn't tons of income coming in. I was afraid about money. I was afraid about, is this even going to work? I was afraid about lots of things. Being open with this stranger and telling them my deepest, darkest truths. I had a lot of fear, but something like the fear was kind of up here, and something down in my soul said, you got to do this, Jen. You've got to work with this person. This is the person who's going to help you move forward, who move you out of this fog, move on with who you really are meant to be. It's like there's a version of you that is like, come on, come on, come on. And you're feeling stuck, like you can't catch up with that person. You can't catch up with that version of yourself you want to be. And this person is going to help you do that. I just had that sensation. So I didn't know how it was going to work. I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I just did it anyway. And fast forward to the end of those 6 months that we worked together. Holy, did we ever pull out a lot of weeds, a lot of blocks, a lot of old tapes that I was playing on repeat in my mind that I didn't even realize. I could not see my own blind spots. I couldn't see how I was getting in my own way. I was keeping myself stuck, not anybody else. I was keeping myself stuck. My blind spots, the thoughts that I didn't realize were hidden, the things that I believed that if I say them out loud, they sound silly, but in actuality, I was living my life by these fears, by these doubts, by these guilts, by these burdens I had placed on my own shoulders. No one else had put these burdens on my shoulders. I did. And I could just as easily let them go, which I did. And I found the clarity at the end of working with him that what would really light me up now would be to support other women who are sitting in the space that I used to be in. When I was in my 9-to-5, when I was working in finance, and I was kind of putting on the pantsuits and trying to be a version of myself that really wasn't who I was. I thought this was what I was supposed to do. I thought this was the life I wanted. I thought this was the life I was supposed to create. It wasn't. I didn't think anything else was possible for me. And then I went on and created this life of traveling and taking photos for a living. And I thought, holy crap, if I can do it, someone who is not extraordinarily talented, someone who's not extraordinarily gifted, someone who hasn't had any head starts in life, someone who, there's nothing about me that gave me a head start in photography than anyone else. And I thought, okay, if I can do this, so can anyone else. So can anyone else. If it's possible for me, it's possible for anyone else. And I really wanted to speak to that person and help them see that for themselves and help them transition. So I got that clarity, I got that support. And the last 2 years have just been this whirlwind of personal growth, of spiritual growth, of ups and downs. And if anyone here is an entrepreneur, let me know. Let me know if there's any entrepreneurs watching this who know what I mean when I say the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship. Because I think what we see on social media is this like highlight reel of, you know, oh, I'm successful and I'm happy and I'm successful and I'm happy and I'm successful and I'm happy. But, you know, we don't see a lot of the struggle behind the journey. We don't see a lot of the challenges that are faced, the inner conflict, the fears, the ego, the inner critic, the inner bully that is constantly, you know, punching us in the face and telling us we can't do this, we can't move forward, no one's gonna want this, no one likes this, people are already doing this, they don't want this from you. So what I want to say is, even in this journey of entrepreneurship, I've had to seek support. You know, when I was first starting the business, I hired a business coach. It was someone that I was drawn to, someone I was attracted to, someone that I had that same feeling like I had with my life coach. It was like, Jen, yeah, this is expensive. I invested about $25,000 US to work with my business coach for 6 months, and then another $5,000 to work in the group program online for 6 months. And this was not money I had. This is debt that I went into. But deeper than the fears of how much it costs and the debt that I was going to go into, and am I going to be able to pay for this or not, and is this going to work or not, and am I going to even like this or not, is anyone even going to hire me as a coach or not, all of that self-doubt, all of that fear that was kind of bubbling here, below that was the, yes, Jen, this is your person. This is going to help. This is the next person that's going to help you get from where you're at to that version of you desire to be. And so I did that. And I've done it again and again. I've hired people to support me with my nutrition. I've hired people to support me with my physical body. I've hired people to support me with money management. I've hired people to support me with myself, like my personal growth, my business growth. I've hired a lot of people to support me along the way. And I just wanted you to know that it's not easy for an independent woman or person to reach out for help, to acknowledge to herself that she can't do it on her own. That's a hard thing for someone who prides themselves on being independent to do, to reach out for help, to reach out for support, to hire a coach or a mentor or a guide or a counselor or a therapist or whatever it is that you need. But what I've realized is what I said at the beginning, when you are too much of something, even if it's a good thing, it's good to be an independent person, but when you're too extreme, you're too far on one side of the spectrum, it really can be to your detriment. And this has shown up in my personal life. You know, what I just described about being miserable for 18 months, and because I didn't realize it, but I was refusing to reach out for help. I was not allowing anybody to support me. I wouldn't let anyone know how I was feeling. But also in my marriage, I've been married for 10 years coming up this August, together with my husband Graham for 15 years. We started dating in our late teens. And my desire, my pride on being very independent actually kept a wall between him and I, where I would let him get close, but not too close. You know, I wouldn't lean into him when I needed support. I can take care of myself. I can carry the groceries for myself. I can pay for the dinner myself. I can do this myself. I can do it myself. And while that worked, you know, for a long time, eventually it put this wedge between us, because on one hand, I wanted to feel very independent and like, I love you, but I don't need you type of a thing. But on the other hand, I was starting to feel disconnected. I didn't feel as connected to my husband as I wanted to feel. I didn't feel like I had the support at the level that I wanted. I didn't feel like I had the connection at the level that I wanted. And this took me a long time to figure out, even though it sounds so simple when I just say it. It's because I was keeping him at that safe distance. It wasn't because he wasn't supportive. It wasn't because he wasn't there for me. It wasn't because we couldn't have that connection. It was because my pride of being independent was keeping that safe space between us. So yes, I still feel like an independent woman, but I'm strong enough to allow the support from others when I need it, to allow other people to challenge me to be better, to encourage me to step into the higher version of me that I can't get to by myself. There's something in my mind, there's a belief, there's a pattern, there's a habit in my blind spot that I can't see, and it's preventing me from moving forward. And I need someone outside of me with a different perspective who can see my blind spots to help me move past them. So you can do this with hiring people. I mean, there are coaches, there's counselors, there's therapists, there's mentors. If you want to start a business, I remember with photography, that was one of the first things I ever did was found a mentor and started working with him because I wanted to close the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be. I wanted to shorten the learning curve. So you can do that if you want. You don't have to. Yeah, this isn't a whole long spiel to tell you must hire a coach or you must hire a therapist or you must hire a counselor. What I'm saying is be open to receiving support. That might be confiding more in your husband if you have been shying away from doing that. That might be opening up more to your best friend and not downplaying what's really going on in your life. That might be masterminding if you're an entrepreneur with one or two fellow entrepreneurs who really understand what you're going through in this journey, because it really is a roller coaster ride. And having someone who gets that and can lift you up when you feel like you're struggling or you're stuck or you're filled with self-doubt, having someone who gets that and can help you through that is so priceless. If there's a workshop that is calling your name, just take it. Don't worry about how you're going to pay for it, or is it meant for you, or is it going to work or not. Just find out what's possible. I feel like it's so much better to find out what's possible than to always wonder what could have been. And I think about the end of my life often. I know it's weird, but I do. And I ask myself, will I regret not doing this? Is this something that on my deathbed I will think, damn it, why didn't I take that chance? Why didn't I explore that possibility? Why didn't I at least see what was possible? Even if I thought it might fail or my inner critic was convincing me that I wasn't worthy of this, I should have at least tried. I don't want to have any of that on my deathbed. So, actually, one of my girlfriends, Sophie, I saw her post on her Instagram just shortly before I came on here. She said that her husband said to her, this is Sophie von Marx, if anyone is familiar. Her husband said to her that hell is getting to your deathbed and running into the person you wished you had become. And that really resonates with me. I really want to live this life to the fullest. And I want to experience and explore everything that I possibly can that excites me or intrigues me or inspires me in some way. And I know that I just can't do it all on my own. I just can't. I honestly tried to do it all on my own. I tried to be fiercely independent to the extreme. And it made me miserable. And it made me feel alone. And it made me feel isolated. So wherever you're at on your journey, if you're an entrepreneur or not, if you're married or not, I believe there's something in this message that you can take, and that is be strong enough to know when you need help, to accept guidance, to be open to seeing the teachers when they're being brought into your life. When you speak the words, when I spoke the words even silently in my mind, yeah, I need help. When I just cracked open a little bit to, yeah, I need help, that was when these dots connected, and suddenly I was working with James, my life coach, who I attribute to forever changing the trajectory of my life. I spoke it out loud in my mind, actually, and the dots connected. And then the second piece was I had to be willing to accept him into my life. I had to be willing to accept this teacher into my life, into whatever form they might be. It might be a fairy godmother under a cherry tree one day, like it started out for me. It might be a coach that appears out of nowhere. It might be a course that appears out of nowhere. It might be a conversation, and a really open, honest conversation with a friend or your husband or your spouse. But it takes strength to be open to receiving help, to seeing the teachers as they're being presented to you. And not only that, but taking action when they do come into your existence, into your reality. Because the universe is constantly putting opportunities in front of you that you have said you wanted, even if it was just in your mind, if it was in your thoughts, like, yeah, I need help, I'm open to help, oh, I can't do this on my own, I really need some guidance. And then you being open to receiving that guidance and seeing it, and even when it's being presented in front of your face, you have free will. So the universe, God, cannot force you to listen to that conversation with your friend, to have that conversation with your spouse, to hire that coach, to take that course or that program or that retreat or that workshop. It cannot force you to do these things. It can present them to you, and it will, especially when you acknowledge consciously what you want and what you need and what you're open to receiving now. But if you don't take the action to accept that, to receive that, to make that happen in your life, then you're going to stay stuck. And you're going to keep beating this drum of like, why isn't anything changing? Why isn't anything changing? Oh, when am I going to get better? When's everything going to get better? And it's like the universe is like, oh my gosh, we're trying to send you help. We're trying to send you guidance. We're trying to send you the right people, the right teachers, the right mentors, the places, the experiences, the circumstances that can help you, but you have to help yourself. You have to be the one that takes the action. You have to be the one willing to invest in yourself. You have to be the one willing to be open to receiving help. You have to be the one who rises above this intense need to be fiercely independent, and that you can do everything on your own, and having this kind of pride or ego around having support. So I really wanted to share that with you tonight. It was a random message. It wasn't planned. I just felt like maybe this was something that you needed to hear. So let me know in the comments when these messages come through. I have no idea if they're of any use to you, or if they're resonating with you, or even if they're making any sense. I just let the words kind of bubble out, and I trust that they land with exactly who they're meant to land with. So let me know in the comments if any of this resonated with you, if you have any takeaways that you'd like to share or highlight for other people that might be scrolling through the comments. If you're watching the replay, let me know. I'm going to have a quick look at the comments here, just in case there was any questions. If you have any questions, I'm totally open to having a conversation here with you. So I'll have a quick peek. Okay. So I can see a few comments, but it's not letting me see all of them. How can I? Oh, I know. I'd probably go to the original video, probably. Okay, so I can only see a few. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. But otherwise, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for letting me know that you're here. Let me know in the comments what city you're in. And if you're watching the replay, let me know if you have any takeaways. I trust this was meant for you. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you next time.